Will you lead me to paradise?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Curtis, and today I'm going to review Season 9, Episode 1 of Sistas. The episode begins with Andy, who is in the dark, calling out to Zach. Zach, who is clearly in pain, answers her and tells her that he is okay. Police officers come to the door and tells everybody to freeze and put their hands up. And as Zach decides the police officers, they enter into the room and they begin walking around. And it doesn't take long before they find Hassan, who is laid out on the ground. And I honestly thought that he was gone at this point, but it turns out that he actually has a pulse. Andy tells the officers that he was the person that pow Jasmine, so the officers decide to put him in handcuffs. The camera then flashes over to Gary, who was on the ground and he's clearly shaken up, or at least that's how he's presenting it. After this, we see Fatima and Karen, who are stuck in traffic. Karen, whose water recently broke, is panicking. Fatima is trying to calm her down while also trying to use her cell phone, but it turns out that she does not have any service, so she decides to turn on the radio. And it's at this time that we find out that the city is experiencing rolling blackouts, which is causing issues with the cell service and also with traffic lights. Back with Andy and Zach, the officers walk over to Andy and ask her about her connection to Hudson. She tells them that they are connected through Gary. She also tells the officers that Hudson is of the understanding that Gary has something to do with his ex Kimberly's death. The officer then begins to question Zach, and Zach decides to turn into the toughest motherfucker in the world. And I'm just like, Zach, please calm down and get this man the information that he needs. He eventually tells the officers that he and Gary were able to wrestle Hudson to the ground, which shocks Andy as far as with Gary's involvement. And then he choked him out, and he put emphasis on the fact that he choked him out just like, Zach, bruh, relax, please. And it's at this time that we see that the other police officers have Hudson, and Andy asks him if he'll be able to get out on bail. And the officer tells him that he doubts it based on the amount of evidence that's stacked against him. And then the officer tells Andy and Zach that they would need to talk to detectives. And then Zach, aka Mr. Tough Guy, tells him that he's not talking to anyone else, and then he storms out of the room. Fatima and Karen finally make it to the hospital, and y'all, Karen is acting her ass off in this scene. Do you hear me? The hospital, it is packed to the point that people are actually bumping into Karen. But Fatima and Karen, they are eventually able to make it up to the front desk. And Fatima tells the lady at the desk that Karen is pregnant. The lady tells her that all of the rooms are booked right now, so she would need to have a seat. Fatima tells her that her water actually broken, so she really needs to see someone, but the lady, she is not budging at all. Fatima and Karen sit down, and Fatima notices that Karen is burning up. She tells the lady at the desk that she believes that Karen is sick. And do you know what the lady at the desk said? She said, have you ever been pregnant? It's just part of labor. And I was just like, I know but then I thought about it, and I was like, okay, let me just try to look at this from both perspectives, okay? From her perspective, the hospital is packed. The lights have been going on and off. There are a lot of patients. So I'm like, she's probably stressed out. So you know what? I'm going to give her a pass for now. After this, we see Sabrina rushing out of the building. Rich catches up to her and begins to apologize to her about having sex with someone else, even though these two are not in a relationship currently. He tells her that she is the only thing that's on his mind. And I was just like, what? So you telling me that you were thinking about Sabrina while you were fucking old girl? He tells her that he needed something to do to distract him from thinking about her. And I was just like, Rich. That hole is getting deeper and deeper, and I'm not talking about old girls. He tells her that he is glad that she walked in when she did, and then he starts talking about their future together. And so she asks him if that was the first time that he had sex with Penelope because they grew up together. He tells her that yes, this is the first time that they had sex together, and that he doesn't look at her like that, and that this was simply a random hookup and something they do. And then next thing you know, Penelope does come out of the building, smacks him on the back of the head, and I was just like, oh shit, here we go. Next, we see Daniela and Tony is clearly bothered about something, so she asks him what's wrong. And he tells her that he's trying to figure out if he's going to take the job in Alaska or not. And then he starts using the words like us and we when talking about potentially moving to Alaska. And Daniela says, we. She says, I'm not moving to Alaska, and there's nothing that you can do to convince me to move to Alaska. And so Tony asks her if she'd be willing to be in a long-distance relationship, and she says, hell no. He tells her that it could work out, and then he actually brings up his previous marriage that was a long-distance relationship, and Daniela asks him, how did that work out for him? And I was just like, ooh, good comeback. He tells her that the distance did not have anything to do with them getting divorced, and then he tells her that if two people really loved each other like they do, then they would be willing to make it work. She tells him that he needs to make a decision about Alaska that night. He tells her that he is not sure what he's going to do, so therefore she gets up, she walks over to him, sits in his lap, and tells him that she believes that sex will help him make a decision. I was like, okay, Daniela, I see what you're doing. Zach and Andy arrive at Andy's place, and Andy asks him to look around and make sure that nobody is there, and which Zach does, and he tells her that no one is there, and then the two of them start talking about the events that happened earlier that day, And then Andy tells him that she's thinking about buying a gun, which Zach quickly shuts down. Andy is curious about how Zach felt being so close to death. And he tells her that he was scared, but that he would get past it because he know that God has his and Andy's back. And then Andy brings up Fatima, and Zach notices that his phone is dead. Andy tells him to go in her room and charge it, and I do want to give a quick spoiler. Zach does end up walking in on Andy while she's getting dressed later that night when he goes to get his charger. Back at the hospital, Fatima is becoming frustrated. She gets up and tells the lady that she is testing her patience, in which the lady tells her to just breathe it out. When I tell you I busted out laughing because why would she say that? And so she does eventually go sit down with Karen, and Karen is going through it, y'all. One minute she is hot, next minute she is cold. Fatima is trying to give her words of wisdom. It even tells her to squeeze her hand if she needs to, and I was just like, squeeze what? I'm like, she's going to break your hand, Fatima? It is at this time that Nurse Rhonda comes out, and she tells Karen that she's going to get her into her room so that they can see what's going on as far as her being hot and cold, and also see how far along she is. The lady at the front desk asks Rhonda which room she's taking Karen into. She says room 114. She tells her that she is in the process of assigning somebody else to their room, so she'll need to wait until room 122 is available, but Rhonda is not having it. She puts her foot down and tells her that she's going to take her into room 114, and I cheered a little bit because old girl was doing too much. Back with Sabrina, Rich, and Penelope, Penelope reveals that Rich kissed her first. Sabrina attempts to chastise her for having sex with Rich, but Penelope counters this by reminding Sabrina that she actually broke up with Rich, so therefore there isn't any reason for her to be upset about it, and I kind of agree with her. She also tells her that they are not friends, so therefore she does not owe her any loyalty, and I agree with her with that as well. And then she goes on to say that she believes that Sabrina can't handle a man like Rich, and insinuates that they're going to finish where they left off. Sabrina calls her desperate, then storms off. Karen and Fatima are finally inside of a hospital room, and Karen's mom arrives. The doctor comes in and he's being a complete asshole, and I was just like, I see what's going on here. Tyler's trying to place emphasis on the fact that Black women are not listened to when it comes to their health. Shout out to Dr. Jackie. And it's at this time that all of the ladies, they start to get voicemails from Fatima regarding Karen's health. And it's also at this time that Aaron arrives at the hospital. He asks Fatima and Karen's mom, how is she doing? Neither one of them wants to answer. He listens to the room and notices that she's bleeding. And that was the end of the episode. I would like to thank you all for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you could, please like, comment, share, subscribe. That would be great. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Bye.